Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to season 3, episode 12. Just show me the luck in loss, whatever that looks like. And so, oftentimes, when we're going through a situation where we're experiencing some sort of loss, whatever that is, whether it's the loss of an opportunity, the loss of a relationship, the loss of a friendship, the loss of a relationship that you have with a family member, whatever the loss is, oftentimes it's really difficult for us to see what we might consider luck and loss. And I don't really believe in luck. I believe in blessings more so than that. But it's St. Patrick's Day, so I figured we'd go with a little alliteration with the word luck. And so there is some blessing or luck, if you believe in that, in the loss of things. And if you hear nothing else in this pod today, something that I really hope resonates with you is that what's waiting for you on the other side of whatever it is that you've lost and the pain and the uncertainty that you're experiencing right now is worth far more to your life, to your calling, to your purpose than what you are dealing with now and what you were experiencing before. And I think oftentimes we hold on to things so tightly because of our fear of what loss looks like, because of our fear of what loss feels like, and because of our fear that if we lose something, that we might not gain something either in its place or something that far surpasses the thing that we have been experiencing. And it's because of that fear that sometimes we won't let go of the thing that we know is no longer for us. And oftentimes we hold on to it so tightly that an astronomical event or just God's hand down from heaven says, I have to take this from you and I have to get rid of it. And sometimes the pain is so intense and immense that He uses that pain to keep you from going back to the very thing that He needs you to let go of so that He can get you to the other side of that and give you what He has for you. And so sometimes when we're thinking about love, we lose a love to find a deeper love. And I can absolutely attest to this one. And if you're in a space where you think that you're going to be alone forever, or you're holding on to a relationship that just isn't for you, and in the name of being tenacious or in the name of never giving up, you're staying in a space that doesn't give you what you need, you don't feel like you're capable of giving that person what they need. Maybe the mark keeps moving, or they just have an expectation that is requiring you to spend all of your time and energy on that love. I can empathize with you because I've been there. I've been in a relationship where I felt like the person was not evolving in life. And so if I stayed in that relationship, it was going to hold me back. I've been in a relationship where I felt like I had to consistently parent that person and tell them what to do and tell them, the list of responsibilities on a pretty much daily basis, and my capacity just wasn't there to do the things I needed to do because I was basically overlooking and supervising another adult in the relationship. I've been in a relationship where people were physically abusive, emotionally abusive, psychologically abusive, and I don't use the term abusive lightly. Those are situations that I would never want to go back to. But even still, when I was in them, I held on to them for dear life. Part of the reason was because I thought that I could enact change in the other person. Part of the reason was because I thought that if I just held on long enough, they would love me enough and they would change and they would want this relationship as much as I did, and therefore their behavior would be different. But what I found in the present day is that the love that I experience today is something that I didn't even imagine in those spaces because I didn't really even know it existed. I believed the people who said, oh, well, that's just for fairy tales and rom-coms aren't real and nobody's holding doors open anymore. Nobody's going to consider you that way. You have to lower your expectation because you're expecting too much. And I can tell you that in those relationships, the previous relationships, I believe that to be true. And even in my phases of being alone, I believe that to be true. And then I realized that if you hold out for that type of love, if you become the type of person who can give, reciprocate, and receive that type of love, then when that love comes to you, you'll cherish it and you'll hold on to it, but also have a feeling of, if it's for me, it's for me. And I never want to go back to something that doesn't align with me again. So there was luck or blessing inside of losing those former relationships, because had I not let go of them, I would never have been able to experience what I'm experiencing today. And just a side note, yes, men do still open doors, and yes, they do plan dates, and yes, they do tell you how incredible you are and consider you and give you the world just because they believe that you are precious enough to be able to receive that. It exists. It's not just in the rom-coms. And I am so grateful that I was able to lose what I had before to be able to open up my hands to receive what I've gained in the process. And sometimes we fear the loss of an opportunity, but the loss of an opportunity becomes the space where something else for you can fall into your lap. So sometimes you might say, well, I can't let go of this job because if I let go of this job, then I don't know what's going to come in its place. And what if the opportunity that is presented to me is something that I'm not even going to like as much as I like this one, or not isn't going to align with me as much as this one does. And I've had that experience as well. And if you're sitting in that space, I would encourage you to just consider that there are millions of opportunity out there. There are millions of spaces that you could inhabit that would be for you and more aligned with you. But yet you're staying in this one because it's comfortable. You're staying in this one because you feel like, you should continue to appreciate it because there was a time where this opportunity was the thing that you were praying for. Well, nothing says that you can't appreciate an opportunity, live through the season where that opportunity was an answered prayer, but then also yearn and want for more. Just because you want something else after you've gone through the season of this current opportunity doesn't mean that you didn't appreciate that opportunity when it was given to you. You prayed for it, it was an answered prayer, you lived through that season, and now you're growing and you're falling into your next. And because of that, you are becoming more of who you're supposed to be in this new season. And that might require another opportunity. So losing this one or moving past this one doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to experience something that, again, is a new answer to a new prayer. And sometimes I think we hold on to the things that we were given because we believe that they're always going to be the answer to a prayer. And sometimes answered prayers lead to opportunities that answer another prayer, and they become part of our testimony to share with other people. But it doesn't mean that we have to stay in those opportunities or with those opportunities forever in order for them to be a great part of our testimony. In fact, I know people who went from being a teacher in the building to them being a team lead, to them being a coach, to them being a director. And had they stayed in the teacher role, yes, they would have been in the space that they prayed for and they would have been impacting children, but the season that they were called to required them to grow and be more and do more. I also know people who were at one time part of the congregation, and then at a different time part of the youth pastoring in the church, and then at a different time the director of a different part of the church, and then lead pastor of the church. And if they would have remained in the opportunity that they initially prayed for, they never would have gotten to the space where their full potential was reached. And so there is no guilt inside of saying, I prayed for this opportunity and it lasted for a season, and I'm appreciative of that season, and I'm appreciative of the lessons that I learned during that season. But there's luck inside of the loss of this opportunity because I know that it's going to take me to whatever I need to receive to go into my next season. And I'm ready to grow into that person, to learn what that person needs to learn, and to step out of my comfort zone and take risks and apply for jobs and look for opportunities and connect with people who maybe have the opportunities in their back pocket, because sometimes the opportunity that's an answered prayer for me makes me an answered prayer for somebody who has that opportunity waiting. And sometimes when we think about friendship, this is something that has always bothered me. When we think about friendship, a lot of times people will say, oh my gosh, we've been friends for 20 years. And somehow we place a medal on the longevity of a relationship, but we don't really think about the actual depth of that relationship and the sustainability of that relationship and the health of that relationship. We just keep toxic relationships in our lives for the sake of having them for a longer duration. But if that friend or friendship is taking you further away from one, who you want to be, two, how you want to be, and three, where you want to be, then that friendship isn't for you. And so sometimes you might lose a friend because you've outgrown each other and you both have a need to prep for a new season in life. And if you stay in that friendship, oftentimes that friendship can keep you in the same mindset and in the same spaces that is the person from your past that you've grown from. And so instead of staying in those same friendships, in those same seasons, we need to realize that sometimes it's okay to let go of a friendship. I had this happen to me, and of course I think about the person, and of course I pray for the person, but I also know that that person doesn't need an access point to me anymore, and I to her. And we were friends for over 20 years, and there was an incident that occurred that let me know that this isn't the place that I belong anymore. Like, I no longer belong in this friendship, and I can love this person from afar. There was an incident that created that knowing inside of me. But then also looking back, I see all the times where I was the version of me that I no longer wanted to be when I was in this person's presence. And so that required me to say, you know what? I want to be different. I want to move different. And I want to have different people in my circle. And so the luck inside of that loss was saying, I can still love her. I can still care for her from afar. And I can still wish her well. But I also don't have to have every single person that I've ever been in friendship with, every single person that I've ever created memories with in my circle forever, because sometimes seasons require us to move past people. And sometimes those people go from full access to us to limited access to us. And we call them every now and again and we check up on them, but we don't tell them the inner workings of our innermost fears, secrets, hopes, dreams, etc. Because we know that they are no longer in that space in our lives. And to expect that the person, if you do have the person who you became friends with in second grade and you're still friends up until your adulthood, there's no shame in that. And I'm not slighting that a little bit. But to place pressure on ourselves that, and to think that the person that we became friends with in second grade is always going to remain aligned with us and that we're always going to have that friendship is an outlandish expectation. If you're lucky enough to have it, that's amazing. That means both of you were growing and shaping yourselves and changing yourselves to become this version of yourself at the same rate or at a similar rate where you could stay in each other's circle. But if you don't have that and you've had to let go of those friendships because they're no longer serving you or serving the purpose that you know that God has for you, that's also okay. And sometimes we lose ourselves. And in that losing of ourselves, we are going through that process because we're about to discover the purpose that has been crafted for us. I don't know about you, but there have been times where I have fallen flat on my face, crying, and just like, what is supposed to be happening right now? I don't understand what I'm experiencing. I don't understand what I'm going through, and I don't know what is going on right now. And I felt like I didn't even know me anymore because the life that I was living was no longer in alignment with who I attested that I wanted to be and who I walked in the world trying to be. But in that space, I just felt like I was completely lost to people pleasing and trying to be who everyone else wanted me to be. And though I had a vision for who I wanted to be, the plans that I was enacting weren't actually making that thing happen because I was prioritizing what other people needed from me ahead of those things. And so in that space, I had to lose myself so that I could say, hold on, there are things that I know I'm supposed to be doing in this life and in this relationship and in this circle and with this opportunity and with these spaces, places, and faces. I cannot do the thing that I know I'm being called to do. And so it was there in that space that I learned that if I got rid of all of those things, if I got rid of my expectation for all of those things, if I got rid of the expectation for myself, and I was able to just understand that I was losing myself, understand that I was prioritizing things above myself, it was in that space that my purpose and the plan for my life was dropped right in my lap. So sometimes we have to lose ourselves in order for us to be able to discover what our purpose is and what we need to let go of and unleash in order to walk into that space. And we go back to the beginning of this pod where I was saying that what's waiting for you is worth all of the pain and uncertainty that you're going to experience in the wait for that thing. And that is 100% true, even if it means the love that you're in relationship with right now is not going to be that same person that's going to be with you later. Even if it means that this opportunity is just a stepping stone for the next phase of your season. Even if it means that this group of friends can't go with you because they aren't marching to the same beat of the same drum as you. And even if it means that right now, today, you have to discover that you are losing yourself in the name of gaining all of these other things. And in order to be fully aligned with your purpose, you have to let go of that and fully receive who you are, how you want to be, and what you want to do to become that person. And so if you're in a space today where you're experiencing loss or where you're afraid of experiencing loss, so you're holding on to the very thing that you know that you need to let go of, I would encourage you to really consider what could be the blessing in this loss. What could be on the other side of this thing that you won't let go of, that you will be able to receive something in abundance in that same spot? What might be the very thing that if you let go of it, it would break you free from the bondage that you're experiencing so that you could walk in a fullness and freedom into the next season of your life, even if you don't know what the map looks like, what the journey looks like, and what the directions are. Even if you're taking a step in faith and you're saying, I know that this thing is something that I'm supposed to let go of, even if I don't know what's going to fall into its place. I know that I've lost me, and even though I fully don't know what my purpose is, I'm willing to let go of all the things that I'm prioritizing over me so that I can walk into it. I would encourage you to sit with yourself and say, what are some things that I'm holding too tightly onto? What are some things that I've placed in my life as idols over what I know I should really be prioritizing and focusing on? And what's the worst thing that could happen if I lose these things? What's the worst thing that could happen if I let go of a love that doesn't feel like love to me? What's the worst thing that could happen if I try for other opportunities and I find one that feels like the answer to the next prayer in the next season? What's the worst thing that could happen if I let go of this friendship that doesn't feel like it belongs in my circle or at this access point anymore? And what's the worst thing that could happen if, in the space where I feel like I've lost myself, I allow for the directions and the instructions for finding my purpose and the thing that I know that I need to walk into? Because the reality is, you won't want to change it. But when you see where it's taking you, you will be so appreciative of the fact that you changed it and you let go of it. So if you're in that space today, I would encourage you to re-listen to this message, write down those things, and understand that the change doesn't feel good and you won't want to change it. But when you see where it's taking you, it will absolutely click in your head why it made sense to make that move. If this message resonated with you, I would encourage you to like and subscribe to my channels. Share this message to someone that you know needs to break free from the bondage of any of these things that I've told you about today. Have them subscribe to the channel, share with them the message, and remember that knowledge gained and kept to yourself is selfish, but knowledge gained and shared with the world may just be the catalyst or the experience that they need to break free from the bondage that they're experiencing today. So I appreciate you for tuning in, and I will see you again next time.